Hey guys, and welcome back to another Dust 514 video. Obviously this video is all about the CPMs. They came aboard and they answered one question. I didn't answer 50 guys 50 questions because it takes too bloody long. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've given them quite a fairly quick format. The idea is that I would ask them a question, they'd have 1 minute to think about the answer, and then they'd have 3 minutes to answer said question. Now obviously if they took the time to think about it and convey a great message. Obviously the message is fairly longer because they could take direction, they could convey the message correctly, they had obviously train of thought and problem solving. So I know the guys who obviously answer within sort of like 30 seconds. Shows they haven't thought the question through, they haven't thought about the answer, poor direction, so on and so forth. So obviously that was the basic format for this sort of question structure, and obviously having so many candidates you can't ask them like 3 or 4 questions because it just takes too bloody long. However, having said that, these guys that came along did have quite literally like a spare 5 minutes to sort of talk to me and then give me and deliver their answers. As you guys all know, it was America Day over in America land with regards to the Great American and Spanish War in 1964. Obviously, as we all know, it was from 1964 to 1972, and I think Spain won that. I can't remember. I've got to go check the history books. As we all know, Spain wanted America's mascot, the kangaroo, and you know that was it basically. Massive ding dong Barney about that. Yeah, so happy days. So obviously they were all celebrating America Day, and obviously the guys that obviously came on board had a spare 5 minutes. Not to say the ones that didn't come along and haven't contacted me weren't interested in actually talking to me. It's just the fact that they were out with family, they were with friends, and they were having a good time rather than worrying about the candidacy and so on, because these guys actually have a life as well. Having said that, I'm going to jump straight into the first answer, and the first Q&A was with Judge Rhadamanthus. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys, and stay tuned, stay listened, and hear what these guys sound like, hear what they have to say, and formulate your own opinions, please, because I don't want you listening to my opinion while actually having to research and so on. I have stuck a link underneath every single candidate's name straight to their forum post, obviously for CPM1 election and nomination, so please click the link and go ahead and read what these guys have to say and what these guys are campaigning for their CPM1 seat. Guys, thank you very much, and don't forget to drink beer. Judge Rhadamanthus, sir, as a well-known vehicle player, do you feel that you have enough experience of the whole game that Dust is to justify you running for CPM1, and why are you taking this candidacy for CPM1 so seriously, sir? You have 1 minute to think about your answer, please.
I am well known for being a vehicle player, right, but that's just what I'm known for. It doesn't mean that's the only thing I do. When I first started playing Dust, the vehicles are the things that appealed to me, so those are the things that I got into first. Particularly noticed when doing so that there was no training for them, they were very difficult to fly. I saw a lot of pilots who were trying at the same time as me to get into the game, and they were struggling, so I made a lot of tutorials for them. Didn't have capture devices, so I did the best I could. I hung an iPad in front of the TV, recorded it, made a load of videos, and put them out there for everybody to see. So that's what got me recognized and known for being a vehicle pilot. But at the same time, I was still skilling up the other weapons in the game. One area of the game that I play, but it's not the only area. If you want to see what I've done in the past and how I've played in the past, go back and look at some of Pyrex's videos, Gasbrand's, or Moody's. And you'll see me in the kill feed, you'll see me on the ground using my laser rifle. You'll see me using a combat rifle and assault rifle. You'll also see me using fully spec'd up Min Commando, which I use for AV. I've got it fully spec'd up heavy, fully spec'd into forge guns, which I also use for AV. So even though that is an area that I find of particular interest, doesn't mean it's the one area where I focus my energy. I'm willing to put my energy into every area. You can see this if you go through some of my videos. I particularly would recommend you watch the one I did on Redline Rail Tanks and followed that up with one I did on swarms, where I pointed out all the problems that swarms had. If you look at the swarm video and compare that to one of the other videos I did, which shows the problem with swarms from a dropship pilot's perspective, you can see two sides of the issue. You can see that I'm a ground player who can see a problem with other areas of the game, and I'm a vehicle player who can see problems with the ground area. So what I am is able to mix all of the styles, like all of these different, compare and contrast, analyze all of the facts from both sides, nothing left out, made up, fully transparently, so that people can understand what the issue is. So if you look at the forums and the web and YouTube, you'll see that not many other people are doing vehicles. So that's why I'm known for it, because there isn't that much out there. Why I am so serious about the CPM is because it's a very serious issue. The decisions it makes will affect the way that players play the game. That's a serious matter.
So basically my question to you, dude, is are you going to be able to communicate and convey your message from the devs to the community in a better way than what the current CPM zeros have?
Well, I think the best way to improve communication would be to be, quite frankly, as honest and as open as you can within the NDA. If you're allowed within the NDA to post on the forums, post on the forums. If you're allowed to talk about it in messages, talk about it in messages. Get players to message you in-game, out-of-game, whatever, so that players know what you're thinking, what you're doing, as much as you can let them know, so that, you know, we're not dealing with people not knowing what's going on and getting angry because they don't know what's going on. I really don't know how much the CPM and the devs have communicated in the past, because most of that is, you know, between them. So I don't know how much or how communication there could be increased. I'd like to get it as much as possible, you know, emails, Skype, whatever, just make sure that there's lots of communication going on there. And between the players and the community, getting messages back and forth, my inbox will always be open. I will forward things whenever I can as a CPM between the players and the devs. I think that, you know, these good ideas from the players need to get to the devs and vice versa. So I just want to make sure that I'll have my inbox in Skype, in-game, whatever, it'll be open. If you send me a message, I will forward it as best I can.
What input do you think the CPM1s will have within Legion itself from Dust? Question? You've got 1 minute to think about it, please, my dear.
Alright, thinking about it. Well, specifically it said it'd be very limited input. From there, I think it's going to be base questions, asking things about themes, or maybe even things that they can port from a completed project in Legion over to Dust. And if they think something is able to be ported, then they'll ask us for input on it, or just, you know, use us as a sounding board. But I really don't think that the CPM should be doing too much in it, all because we're not playing the game. We don't have the first-hand experience that, like, a playtester would. And one of the things you really do need to have when commenting on a game is not just understanding the concept, but understanding the mechanics themselves. And so I'm really hoping that it really will be minimal input because of that. If they ask us to do too much, I might have to take a step back, because I don't believe that I can comment on something that I don't fully understand, which is why I can comment on things like balance or gameplay, or like how to play the game in what style, building fittings for people. But without that experience, I don't think that we should be putting too much into it, other than it's like commenting on things that have already happened in Dust, like the developers having an idea in their head, getting negative reactions from the community when they hear about the concept, and then going through with it anyway. I think it'd be important for us to like make sure they're listening to the community on that, but not anything too specific.
Right, I'm off Saber. My question to you, sir, is as a current CPM, what could you bring to the new guard of the CPM1s? You have 1 minute, sir.
Basically, I would just want to say that I felt that since Uprising 1.0, I have seen a massive change within CCP. I mean, the way they do things and how they're going about developing the game. I mean, CCP Rouge has been a fresh breath of air for the whole studio culture over there because the guy before just acted like a car salesman, for lack of better words. CCP Rouge is more than willing to self-reflect on the game, the studio, himself, and be able to call out his when he does a mistake. So that's very important characteristic for the studio to have, being able to figure out that it's doing something wrong. My only hope is that my hope is to continue what CPM0 has set forth, that we're a valid organization, and that CPM1 can continue to be that valid organization, that of a player source of information, feedback, and advocacy, especially in a closed room environment where they're not allowed to talk to any of the community over a brand new idea that may or may not piss off the community. For example, like Incarna, if Incarna was listened to, it would not have been a massive fiasco as it was for Eveside.
Right, Kevall. My question to you, sir, is as the CEO of Dust University and a self-confessed gamer and not a techno wizard, what do you think you could bring to the CPM1s that not everybody else could bring? You've got 1 minute to think about it, sir.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. As a non-techie guy, I think I would bring to the party, so to speak, a certain amount of how can I say, common touch to the CPM and their interactions with the community as well as the devs. I think what's required for this kind of thing is someone that can filter it, someone that can filter that information and then bring it forth in a way that most people would be able to understand without going into the technicalities of it. And also, as a self-confessed gaming nut, I think that I can bring a certain level of enthusiasm to the whole thing more than anything. You could accuse me of being, slightly a dreamer on certain things or being slightly unrealistic. But if you explain to me perfectly well why such and such can't happen, then fine. I am someone that does understand the limitations of the technology of the design process. I am like a full-on tech nerd, so I do know bits about computing design. Not certainly not enough to make a career out of it, but I'm interested. That's one way to describe it. I'm interested in listening to what other people do for a living and how they go about it, and that would include the CCP guys as well. They couldn't possibly bore me with any details that they want to fail over, because I will just listen and soak it all up and then digest it, and be able to convey that probably a little bit better than they might be able to do. Some of the tech guys at CCP do tend to get a little bit bogged down in the information. If you've been to FanFest, you'll understand that if you watch some of the presentations they do. Today, the keynote that we had this year was a perfect example. Ooh, look, we've got trees. Well, that's great, but who gives a damn? What's going on, behind the scenes? How does this work? How does the MPE work? How does communication within the game work? What is going to be the link between the games? So you need someone to get to appreciate the nice, shiny stuff, but you also need someone who understands that the process from the point of view of a gamer, to be able to look at everything and go, yeah, that's nice, but it prevents me from doing this. Why can't I do this? I can just bring a sense of interest and enthusiasm to the whole process.
Right, Pokey, my question to you, sir, is what have you done recently for the community of Dust 514? Just you've got a minute to think about it, mate, starting now.
Okay. Well, so basically, recently I've been going around and testing quite a bit of various things around the game, just oddball things that I really had never touched before, just to kind of get a better feel for it. And with the recent updates, I've been going through and trying different things and trying to give proper feedback that CCP is asking for on various game mechanics and balance and whatnot. And I think that generally, just helps the community as a whole when more people are actually getting in there and diving into the numbers and actually trying and experiencing things, how they work to give proper feedback for balance. So, I mean, the balance aside, I've been really trying to dive into a wide range of things to give the best feedback possible to help everyone out from various walks of life, so to speak. But aside from that, I've been really trying to kind of dive more into the theory crafting and understanding how we can make Dust a better game given the confines of what we're dealing with post-Legion announcement. And to do so, I've been really running around and talking to a lot of the focus groups. One, for example, being the Barbershop, which is the Scout community on the forums. Really great group of guys, lots of really good heads in there, and just kind of picking their brains and getting ideas. And there's just been a flood of great feedback, and I've been trying to assemble that and kind of gather it all together. And one thing I'm pretty good at is combining information and putting it in a format that's really easy to understand and easy on the eyes, because I think that as gamers we're all pretty visually stimulated. So being able to take something that's more than a wall of text and put it in a more visual format is a good way to get ideas across to players. So I've been going through, talking to these groups, getting their ideas, giving them some ideas, getting their feedback, and trying to kind of combine it all together into some more organized information. A lot of that's available on my CPM thread. You can find the link other places, but just kind of taking that all together and being able to show players, hey, this is what we're working on as a group. We're taking your feedback as players, not as CPM, but as players, taking your feedback, putting it together, and this is kind of what we're coming up with as a group. And I think it's really cool, and it's encouraging to other people, I think, when they can see groups working together like that, combining information and coming up with some solid ideas that can really make the game a better place. So, I mean, I could say it's what I've done, but it's really what we've been doing as a community. I've just been a part of that machine, And so I think it's good to keep pushing forward that sort of thing, and make sure that we can get some clear ideas out there and show people what we're working on. Because incremental changes are great, but I think it's good that we keep an eye on what the final goal is for Dust and make sure that those changes we're making are moving towards that goal instead of off in some random direction. So having a clear vision of what we want the final future to be, and understanding from the experts in the community what changes need to happen to get there is going to be really key. So that's what I've been focusing on mostly for my recent time.
Right, Soraya. All right, my question to you, sir, is you are a fairly young individual yourself. What is your life experience, and what gives you the ability to make a good CPM1 candidate?
All right, so I am actually, believe it or not, I am 25. It doesn't come across that well over voice, but I am a little bit older than people give me credit for when they hear my voice. But my experience comes from I try to keep a pretty wide base of education. I've worked in IT for quite a few years now, doing everything from in-home computer repair out to systems administration for websites and servers. And I studied game and simulation programming, which I have a bachelor's degree in, and that covered everything from the using the different art tools and programming tools, creating games with Unreal, to a lot of the design aspects of how to make gameplay fun and exciting and constantly have you keep retaining interest in it. And so I have a lot of that experience. I have played games in pretty much every genre. I have a lot of history with MMOs. I have a lot of history with FPS games. I mean, I love EVE for what it is, but it's always been that kind of. I'm very much an FPS person in that I like to just go relax and go shoot people in the face as stress relief. So I have a lot of love for both of those fields of game design, and when you combine the two, you get this wonderful thing called Dust. And I really want to help make it what it really can be, which I think is just. I think there should be a point where nobody should want to play any other game.
Tesfa, my question to you, sir, is what could you bring to Dust one selected for CPM1. You've got a minute to think about it starting now.
Alright. In terms of what I could bring to Dust directly, I'm not sure. I mean, I've said in my post that, you know, I mean, I'm not privy to what's going on behind the NDA, and some other people had asked me before, well, what would you change? What would you do if you would already be in the CPM? And most of those concerns were taken care of in hotfix beta, like removing vehicles from regular ambush, for example. I could talk about what I could bring to the CPM, which is, I think, an open mind, because I'm not involved in game development or techie stuff, and I could also bring the fact that I'm not hugely connected to the alliances or to the major corps. My profession is is a culinary one, and the most important thing we talk about in there is that we don't care about what you know or how much you've brought in before. We care about your character and how much you can learn, and I think this instilled in me like the kind of ability to work professionally with people that maybe we were not going to get along all the time, but we got to look at the bigger picture in hand, and for us that's going to be Dust 514 and keeping the player base happy till the server goes down. So I think that's what I could bring, a unique perspective outside of gaming, outside of tech, and outside of being I don't know, famous or being beholden to people who are famous, let's say.
Zatara, my question to you, sir, is that with regards to conveyance, if the devs have an idea that you think isn't going to be a good improvement for Legion, because ultimately we are going to Legion, what would be the steps that you would take? Would you be prepared to break the NDA? Would you be prepared to openly discuss it with the devs further, or the community? What would you go ahead and do?
All right, thanks for the minute to just sort of collect my thoughts. For me personally, I don't think that obviously breaking NDA is ever an option. I certainly don't think that resignation is going to accomplish much unless there was at an absolute point where I don't feel that I could contribute further to the CPM. I think that the largest thing that I would want to try and do is to confer with my fellow council members. I think that each of us brings, hopefully, if elected, each of us will bring something to the table, and I think that there's going to be others, perhaps, assuming that people like Cross or people who have a lot of composure like Pokey and Denny are elected, that they're going to be a strength that I can rely on. If, for example, because sometimes I tend to be a bit more passionate about these sort of things. I think that overall, one suggestion that I might have to sort of, try and discuss it with them further if they're just simply not listening to me is I wonder if it would be possible if I brought up or collected information about a similar concept on Dust that wouldn't break NDA, obviously, and then try to give them, sort of like a context to think about what the idea would bring if they were to implement it on Dust.
Right, Mr. Black Jackal, my question to you, sir, as a formidable EVE player, why do you want to be a CPM member on Dust? You play EVE, why do you want to be a Dust CPM?
Because Dust is where my heart is. I started playing EVE around the same time as Dust was released and announced, and I felt passion for Dust straight away, more so than EVE. I played EVE for a while, but then when Dust was released, as soon as I went into the closed beta, which was back in the replication build, I was a Dust player from that point on, and I always stood for the fact that I wanted Dust to be a great game on its own. Even if it doesn't incorporate EVE at the beginning, I wanted Dust to be the best game it could be. Now, running for CPM with the prospect of a possible port to PC with Legion, I want to make sure that both Dust and Legion are both supported in this respect, and that they are great games on their own, even without EVE. So when you link EVE into Dust, it makes an awesome double whammy game and makes it so it actually feels like you're playing two different ways of playing New Eden. That's. I can't think. I'm acting a lot too quickly then.
No, dude, it's fine. It's fine.
Oh, even went quicker than
fucking...
last time.
No, look, dude, it's fine. It's fine. It's not a stiff format. It is subject
Yeah, I know,
to change.
I know.
It's...
Just, I think I went quicker than last time because I had it all planned out a bit better.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Right, Mossellia Delt. So I have a question for you, and your question is a fairly simple one compared to everybody else's. But I would like to know genuinely, who is Mossellia Delt, and why would you like to become my representative to the developers of CCP?
Bam. The reason I think I'd make a good CPM member is I have done alpha and beta testing with Turbine under NDA. And I've worked close with developers, and I relayed the information back to the player base and community in a way that didn't break the NDA. And I have experience with this sort of work. I'm not a politician, I'll be honest. I am an everyman. I'm an average guy, as average as you can be, pretty much. And I'm doing this for the community. I'm not doing this for myself. I'm not going to make flowery speeches, and I'm not going to promise things I can't deliver on. I'm going to promise that I'm going to do the job of the CPM. I'm going to tell CCP what the community wants. It's not about me, it's about the community. I'm not here for myself. I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for the community. I am a player of this game. I enjoy it, and I want other people to enjoy it too. It's not just about my personal enjoyment. I've never been one to want the easy way out. A lot of people play the flavor of the month. I play the Omni Soldier. I play everything. And that's another part of why I think I'd be a good CPM member. I have experience in every field in Dust. Not every suit in Dust, or every race, but every field. And I think that I can convey the messages of the community without being biased on one playstyle or another. And I can convey messages back very analytically from CCP to the community without breaking my NDA. I've done so in the past doing the alpha and beta testing for Turbine.
Right, Mr. Atu Cross, my question to you, sir, is dealing with cynics and skeptics on the forums themselves, especially with myself personally. I've become quite a skeptic and a cynic since the FanFest, or as we would like to call it, Failfest and the Rouge Wedding, blah blah blah, and the recent redundancies within CCP Shanghai with the letting go of the community sort of side of things. How would you then deal with me on the forums? How would you then go about that, sir?
I think that the key thing is it's a question of trust. Obviously, there have been some dropped balls when it comes to CCP's communications with us as players, and that needs to change. The CPM hopefully would be an avenue for that change, providing better communication both to and from CCP, not editing it, but filtering it in the sense of making sure that it's on point, clear, concise, and timely. So that'd be a major element. Also, influencing game balance. And when I say influencing, I don't mean I need to balance things from my play style. I mean making sure that what we're balancing, when we're balancing, and why we're balancing is pointed towards core game mechanics, towards things that can help improve the overall play experience for anybody, whether we're talking about a new bro fresh out of the academy or bitter vets like you and I who've been here since closed beta and can recite several different versions of Dust in essence. The main key in all of it, as far as I can tell, is to start doing what we would have liked to see being done from way back in E3 even, which is focus on core game mechanics, start to polish the things that we encounter and deal with them most frequently, and have communication that is as upfront, honest, and timely as possible from CCP. As a CPM, what I would do personally, how I would try to engage with those things, would be find as much quality feedback as I could on the forums, find the really active issues and threads, and then gather all of those so that I can make sure CCP has eyes on. And after I've done that, come back to those threads and make sure that the people posting in them, that the players active in them, are aware that yes, these threads have been seen, they've been transmitted, they're being considered, and engage more fully to get information about those questions. Because ultimately, no CCP dev, no CPM member is ever going to be able to fix the game for everyone in the sense of defining how it should be played and how everyone has fun. What we've got to do is make that collaborative, crowdsource the endeavor, and if we want to keep players who are more in the bitter vet pool involved and engaged, we've got to be able to start delivering on at least some of the fundamental promises that were made about Dust going in. Obviously, development resources are sort of limited right now, but we really need to focus on that heart of it, regardless of the limited resources, and try to start restoring some of the faith that was lost recently.
Right, well guys, obviously as you all know, that was Atu Cross. Atu Cross, a very, very strong CPM1 candidate. I'm not going to be voicing my opinions and my ideas with regards to who to vote for within this video, because I don't think it's up to me to tell you who to vote for. I will, however, put out a video tomorrow, the day after, just voicing and expressing my opinions about the CPM1. One thing I will say now, though, however, is that the CPM1 candidates, some of them do feel that they are being voted into a position above the community where they get to get on the inside of the CCP world via an NDA. Let me tell you that the NDA is just a formality, a bit of pen and paper. Some of the stuff that these guys know isn't worth the pen and paper it's even freaking written on. If you guys think that you guys are being voted into a position above the community, well, I'm sorry, you are wrong. You're voting yourself in, or getting voted into a position below the community. God, I've had too much beer. Below the community. So therefore, you guys will be working for us because we want to know what the devs are doing with regards to our game, the game that we play, the game that we love, and obviously Legion. It's up to them to sort of work within the constraints of the NDA to sort of tell us without actually having to break the trust the CCP has given them. So yes, if you guys want to vote yourself into a position below, bam, well then, good luck to you, sir. Again, I'll be posting a video on my opinions, thoughts about each individual candidate and so on fairly soon, but maybe tomorrow. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see all you crazy guys in the next video. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Bye.